Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. It is Thursday, so we are talking Turner syndrome. And I had a really interesting question the other day come up in my comments. And I thought, while I did my best to give a little response in the comment, replying to the comment, I thought it kind of warranted a whole own video dedicated to this topic. And you guys know I love talking about this. We're going to talk about HRT again. So specifically, how the different HRTs affect your cycle and how each one can make it look different. Each one can give a different experience with it, and how your cycles change depending which HRT you're on. And specifically, they asked, does it change the days of your cycle? So my first way of interpreting that question was, does it change what day of the month it happens on? But then I thought about it, and I also kind of took it to mean, does it change how long it is? And things like that. So it was a really interesting question, and I think as a part of HRT, I've actually never talked about really. So if you don't know, there are a ton of different HRTs. So it's almost impossible to have experience with every single version. Otherwise, you'd be getting so many different variations, and that would just be hard to keep up with. So I have only tried 2 different types and only 3 different actual, well, I take that back, 4 different actual variations being chemically different. By that I mean like different actual pills, but the idea is the same. So I started off on a regimen of Premarin, which is estrogen, and a progesterone. And I then, once I started having a cycle, we switched me off of it to just a generic birth control, and that's the one I've been on the most. So about halfway through that, I decided I wanted to try different things. So when I switched endos when I turned 21, I said I'm not having any issues, but I'd really like to try out the patch. She was totally down for me trying it. She really helped me. She even had new research she was up on that had kind of formulated how to almost blend the two to work better when you need a higher dosage, like some Turner's women do. I ended up needing a higher one. I think my levels were just lower naturally. Yeah, I don't know how any of that works. But she had just recently heard of a new type of regimen they had been trying with some patients, and she was totally down for me to try it. And I was excited to try it, so I tried it. It changed what they looked like. And by that, I mean I spotted a ton. I had a lot of breakthrough spotting, and that was basically because it wasn't a high enough dose. So that might sound backwards. If I'm not getting enough, how would I have enough to have a cycle? But I had already been regularly having the right levels in my system to have a cycle. So the first month or 2 I tried it, I had major breakthrough bleeding, and it just didn't work. It was just not high enough for me, and it was weird. It just did not work for me. So I went back onto a generic birth control, and she put me on a different one than I had been on. And I didn't actually get to spend that much time with her before I moved to work out all the kinks with that one. But that was a different one than I was put on after the progesterone and estrogen. So that's 3 types of things now. And now fast forward to, I switched from that generic birth control to another one. Now back to the question, the biggest way it looked different was having heavier ones on the higher estrogen ones and having a lot of spotting on the ones that were not high enough for me. So it was really intense, heavy symptoms when the estrogen level was higher, and the lower estrogen level just made me have a lot of spotting. And it didn't super mess with my length of like the number of days that my cycle lasted. It was so light that it was enough for it to last as long, I guess. but it was barely a cycle because it was a lot of just spotting, if that actually even makes sense. So that was my experience. So in that sense, yes, it can change your levels, which can change how long it could last. It could also change intensity depending on the levels of the hormones. So it can look different depending on how you transition it. I guess it could change the day of the month that happened, like switch it to a different week in the month or something, depending on what you were doing and what that looked like, and what transitioning looked like. Yeah. So, short story long, it can shift it depending on what you're on. And the biggest reason for that is every body is different. And you never know how one is going to work with you and affect that for you, affect that whole system. So that's why trying out different ones, that's why listening to your body and shifting things if you feel like it's not working right is really, really important. And I am very, very grateful to have taken the opportunity to be my own advocate and really push to find out more, because it really didn't feel right for me. I just didn't feel right on it. And sometimes you have a doctor that listens to you really well, sometimes you don't. And you kind of just gotta go with the flow and be the best advocate for yourself you can be. So to whoever asked that question, if you are wanting to try something new, go for it. If you are feeling like it's not working, tell your doctor and try something else, or go back to what you know is working while you maybe figure out something else to try if you're really not wanting to stay on what you were on. So it's not weird to have it change your symptoms and kind of change what your cycle looks like. It's just really important to listen to your body and really recognize what's going on. So I hope that answered the question. I hope that addressed all of it. If you have any clarifying questions or anything else you're wondering about, please leave that in the comments below. I would love to answer as much as I can and kind of give my own experiences for whatever they're worth. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any input into this, if you have any good information to share, please leave that in the comments below as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications on. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!